Hello guys, this one will show you what I think is the easiest high poly and low poly workflow in 3ds Max.
But real quick guys, if you're looking for what I consider to be the best 3D modeling tutorial on the internet, I recommend checking out my Udemy course. It's got tutorials on Blender, 3ds Max, CAD programs such as Plasticity and Moai 3D, and a lot of ZBrush as well. So if you want to master a variety of programs to really bring your skills up to the next level and master 3ds Max, Blender, ZBrush, and Plasticity, be sure to check out that course. Link is in the description. Let's continue.
So here's just my daily warm-up, just this like random little object I made very quickly. And so this will be a starting point. So first I'm just going to talk a little bit about the modeling process and what kind of process I use right here. I'll go ahead and make something from scratch, but I'll just go ahead and copy, for example, open subdiv and data channel. All right, so the way I like to make objects is either starting with a plane or starting with a box. So in order to make something like this, for example, this kind of quick object, I'll go ahead and center this. All right, now with this gray object color, and so essentially what I'll do here is I'll just use a bunch of loops here to set this up. And I have a workflow where I'm just going to go in here and just kind of extrude and kind of rotate. All right, something like that. And then to get like a round piece right here, I'll maybe insert 2 loops through there, and then 2 through there, and then I'll select this, and I'll use regularizer on that. Now I've got this nice little rounded piece right here. All right, so in order to establish a curvature here, I'll insert a loop there and loop there. Now what I will do is I will use Swift Loop, and I'll hold down Shift as I do so, which will have it match the surrounding geometry, the curvature. So just like that, I'm able to establish curvature, and now it's easier to add further detail. All right, so something like that, and then if I want a little curve right here, I will select this and do that, and I'll have the same procedure here for the curve. I'll set flow here, and then insert some loops through there. Right, something like that. And so now I'm going to go ahead and select this, grow. Actually, let's do the same for this right here. Inset and bridge. All right. I will use symmetry. On the x-axis. All right. And I'm going to paste those 2 modifiers here, data channel and open subdiv. So what data channel does is you go ahead and apply a modifier called data channel, and then you go ahead here from presets, auto edge crease weights, and apply that, and I can turn off enable display. And what that will do is it will automatically procedurally set up creases here, so that when you apply open subdiv, as you can see, this is with data channel and then this is without. You see, it makes quite a nice difference here. And so what's nice is that this is all done procedurally. What's not so nice is that it tends to make the round parts, so we want to be round, it tends to kind of sharpen them up here. However, I use data channel while I'm working to preview what this subdivision will look like. It's not necessarily the final result. Once I'm done with using data channel, I will replace it with crease set. And now I'll go ahead and use this with the default value, for example, or maybe increase this. And so now I can actually manually set up where I want the creases to be. In this case, looks like we get perfect results, and I will create a set and give this a crease value. And so this is going to be the superior version of data channel, because we can set up exactly where we want the creases to be, where we want it to be sharp. So the data channel is there as a temporary measure, because even though it has some flaws here, it's very good for getting this right here, which is much better than what it was previously. And what's great about this is that it allows us to get sharp results without the the support loop workflow, which of course, as you can understand, gets very chaotic very quickly and makes it very difficult to manage this. And it's always been one of the most unfun parts of polygon modeling, of subdivision modeling, but essentially data channel and crease set get rid of all that. And it allows us to have a very simple mesh, but still have it look nice as we're previewing it, and then we can replace that with crease set and get a very good result. Right, that is the modeling side of things, modeling the high poly. And I'd like to cover a few issues here that we may run into. One issue is this situation right here, where we're establishing a curve right here, right? But the problem here is that we have this detail here, and essentially what's going to happen is, if I convert this to holding control click here, is that these are going to be sharp, which means there's not going to be any kind of curve here because it's going to maintain sharpness right there. You can even see with this workflow, we can get away with having even n-gons here. As you can see, this is an n-gon, we're getting away with it. So I'm going to go ahead and increase this to 3. So what you can do here is keep it to like 2 or 3 at the viewport, maybe just 0. You don't even actually need to see it, but then at render time you set it's like 4 or 5, because when you use the crease workflow, we do need to have more iterations than we do with Turbo Smooth. But you can see we are getting that kind of a flatness here, and maybe that's a little bit too sharp here. So we can spend some time optimizing things. So what I would do is just turn on edge constraint to kind of move this, or use side flow right here, just to make this smoother here. And I will insert one more loop through here. Let me see if side flow will work here. Okay, it's not working perfectly because of this, but I can still just use S for snaps, Alt D for axis constraints, make sure the X-axis active and snap it right there. Or instead of doing that, we can just kind of move this here and get some smoothness right here, and then set flow right here. So this is just a little thing when you're working with subdivision modeling. When you're trying to have a curve right here, you want to have at least 1 or 2 loops here. You better establish that curvature there. And maybe the n-gon is having some bad result. So maybe we can insert a loop there. But you can see, maybe we need one more loop through here. Let me just add one more loop through here as well. Or maybe something like that, and then I'll use set flow here. But you can see a lot of these issues go away if you just have a more complex mesh before you get to this part. So before adding these kinds of details, guys, have a more dense mesh right here. You can avoid a lot of these issues. We can see after adding one more loop there, we get rid of a lot of that. But probably want to have so if I were to like recreate this. Right, if I were to just kind of detach this clone, I would want to have a lot more loops going through here. All right, so if I were just to delete this, and let me just simplify this. Alright, so before adding any kind of small details here, let me just go ahead and use a shell here as well. What I want to do here is have a lot more density here. So I'll go into like Turbo Smooth, maybe go once more, and see, now we have a lot more established curvature here. And now when we recreate this detail, for example, I had to insert a loop here to make it look better. Now I can get that kind of detail much easier because I could just do this, for example. And we have a feature in Max called Smart Extrude. So I'm going to go ahead and press S for snaps. And I'm going to go ahead and hold down Shift and kind of snap right there, and hold down Shift and snap right there. All right. And so now when I use open subdivision data channel, you can see I'm able to get pretty much a perfect result here without having to do any more insert loops, because now we have 3 loops going through here. It's going to establish curvature much better right here. So these are things that you worry about as you're doing your high poly modeling. Just making sure that before you add small details, you got some nice curvature there. Here I was just trying to get away with having as simple topology as possible. And so I was even able to get some cool, nice looking triangle details here. But those details will be easier when you've got more density here, because you can just do this kind of thing. And now you can just get them like so. And you get a very clean result here. All right, so we've got that. So this is going to be our high poly. Once again, you can replace data channel with preset as I showed you previously. I think this looks fine for now, so I'll just keep this. Actually, we do want to get rid of that. So let's see here. What I can do here is I can apply preset on top of data channel and go into options and then auto generate. This will take all the creases generated by data channel and give them actual categories here, actual groups. So it's actually done that right here. Or actually what I'll do here, I can also, so I can do that method, just transfer the procedural creases into actual groups right here. And I can right click, select elements, and that's doing that right there. Or what I can do is I can just simply apply edit poly on top. And if we look at the edges, we can see that right here, something's been baked in here. But this is being caused by the creases. What I would do is I would just select this and I'll use regularizer script to re-round this out. So that's very useful right there. That way, no matter how many loops end up going through here and ruining the curvature, we can always select this and re-regularize. So that's a very nice little trick right there. All right, so this is our high poly, and now we need to go ahead and create the low poly. The way I will do this, I'll show a nice little technique for that, as I'll go ahead and close onto the side. And obviously here, we don't need open subdiv anymore, we don't need data channel anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and, I'll just go ahead and collapse that. All right, at this point, you need to make a decision as an artist about which details you're going to keep and which are just going to be normal map details. So you want to focus on things that establish the boundaries, the silhouettes. So for example, this right here, these little things here are very nice to look at, establish nice silhouettes. These triangles here though, we can go ahead and bake them into the normal map. So we can actually go ahead and use by angle here and select that, grow, and just delete that and just go into border level, select that and cap that. All right, now here's a very cool little trick. So all the loops that we have here are very nice for adding further detail because they allow us to select this and add further detail. But the low poly does not need them. The low poly needs to be as simple as possible. Here's a very easy trick for getting that. You simply go into here and then the compound objects use pro boolean. You can set it to a hotkey. And so set this to like copy, for example, set this to copy, like subtraction, and then start picking and pick any random object here. You're gonna notice what's gonna happen to all these loops right here. Watch what happens. As you can see, it simplifies the object to its bare necessities. Everything necessary for its silhouette. You got a little something happening right here, but we can always kind of get rid of that. We can apply edit poly on top. And we can maybe go ahead and just select this and remove that. Let's see. So I'm not sure what's happening here. Let me see. I'll just tap this here and I'll just connect two vertices there. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to bridge these two and then I'm going to go ahead and cap this. All right, so now we've got this simple result. And I'm going to paste, first I'm going to see if there's anything on this side that needs to be fixed. It's looking good. Now I will paste symmetry and then add a plane on top. And you know, once again, I can use Pro Boolean and just pick something else here. And once again, it's going to get rid of all that loop in the middle. So I find this is the most efficient way to create a nice low poly very quickly and get rid of all those redundant loops that we don't need in the low poly. Next, we go ahead and we apply an optimize modifier. That fixes things like this, for example. Now, we don't really need that in the center right there, but you know, it takes time to weld or remove that. But with optimize, it kind of automatically fixes all that. And you can see it optimizes the mesh further by getting rid of like maybe any slight extra edges you don't want. You can modulate this by using the face threshold right here. Oops, let's turn that on. Lower values will give us some of that back. And once again, guys, the value you have here and how many edges you have depends on your budget for your low poly. And that's something that you got to ask your director about, and the technical director and technical person is like, how many triangles do we want for this asset? Is this an important asset, a background asset, you know, level of detail and all that? But, you know, here I'm liking what this does right here. But if I want those back, I'll just lower the face threshold value and then coming back here. If I want even less faces here, I can increase this value. It's going to really optimize that. But of course, you got to be careful. Obviously here, if it's too high, this will start happening here, which will really ruin the baking process. So you got to kind of keep an eye on what that does. And what I like to do is just kind of turn this on and off to see if I like the changes. Like, I don't like what's happening right here. That's way too simple. So we'll go ahead and lower this. We'll go ahead and lower this value here. All right, so it's done a nice job and the silhouette has still been maintained. All right, next we can apply the Pro Optimizer. And once we click on calculate, it's going to go ahead and triangulate everything. There's no more n-gons. All the game meshes are triangulated. All right, next we're going to apply smooth, auto smooth, and then you guys know the drill. When you unwrap this, everything with a separate smoothing group right here will need its own separate UV island. So you can use a free set of tools called text tools for 3ds Max, which will automatically do that. It will separate UV islands depending on the smoothing groups right here. All right, but what we're checking out here is like, we don't want this happening here, so we need to modify this until we get that smoothness here. But that kind of ruins the smoothness right here. So kind of need to modulate this value. Okay, that's good. But I will need to kind of fix this up. So what I would do here is just by angle and we re-regularize that to fix up the smoothness here. So we went from that to this right here. All right. So here is our low poly, ready to go. So depending on how you... All right, we got a little something happening right here. Let's see if we can fix that. Sort of loop here. All right, what I would do is actually clear the smoothing groups here. I mean the crease right here. All right, so now we have, and I will fix this up as well. So now, guys, we have a very nice high poly and low poly. Oops, looks like we need to fix this up as well. Let me give this a separate smoothing group here. There we go. So now we have a very quick low poly and a high poly that's ready to match it. Alright guys, so that is, I think, a very efficient, nice high poly, low poly workflow in 3ds Max. Thank you for watching and take care.